Call of the Wild, which is based on the Jack London novel from 1903. It's been out for quite a while, so if you don't want to get spoiled on this 117-year-old novel, then you may want to listen elsewhere. But this is the newest film from, I think, one of the first films from 20th Century Pictures, the newly titled. There is a film that came out for The Call of the Wild that came out in 1935, which I've seen. I don't know if you guys have seen it. This new one is directed by Chris Sanders, his directorial debut for live action. It's written by Michael Green, and it stars Harrison Ford, Dan Stevens, Omar Sy, Karen Gillan, Bradley Whitford, and Colin Woodell. Great cast, set in the 1890s during the gold rush. Some of you listening might already be familiar with the story, but for those who aren't, Cory Woodruff, you saw the Call of the Wild, correct?
I did not. My grandmother canceled on our screening.
Never mind. For some reason, I thought you had seen it, so I'm going to turn it over to William Tyler Ashton, one of my good friends.
Invoking my middle name yet again.
Will, who I appreciate, who I look up to, who, whenever I'm in a crisis, I send him a text message and say, Will, what do I do? And Will is there with me through all the storms, through all the blizzards. And when I say mush, he speeds me through. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong movie, I guess. That's Togo, because Call of the Wild doesn't have dog sledding. Will Ashton is my loyal friend. Will Ashton, what did you think of Call of the Wild, and what is it about?
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much, I mean, knowing the story of it is basically as far as you need to know about the plot, which is that, you know, it's set in the 19th century. It's centered around the dog named Buck, who goes on this cross-country adventure, eventually befriends Harrison Ford's character, who is this grieving, basically hermit who's living on the outskirts of town and is just inclined to drink his sorrows away. And through the dog, he finds some sense of longing and love again, and they go on a search for gold. And it's I mean, I don't know how it compares to other adaptations and how it compares to the book, because I'm not very familiar with any of those or the text. But as a film itself, it's admittedly, especially at the beginning, kind of weird for reasons that we didn't dive into yet, which is that for reasons that I'm only somewhat clear on, they decided to make the main central dog entirely CG. I believe it's something with like a PETA, like animal rights thing, where they wanted to make sure the dog wasn't in any risk of danger.
Sure. And
you know, obviously because the film's so much is so central to him and focus on his expressions and his inner life, I guess they just figured.
Yeah, can I give my theory on that then? Because we mentioned Chris Sanders. He was the director of How to Train Your Dragon. I get the sense that that's kind of why.
Because of his animation background?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Which I guess, I mean, if that's the reason why he decided to take the property, which, I mean, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that, like, movies like Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon are basically dog movies, just with animals that aren't dogs. Well, I guess in case of Lilo and Stitch is an alien, and then... Yeah,
Stitch is more human than anyone I've ever met in my life.
Sure. Fair enough. One for hyperbole, but I don't dissuade what you're saying and to...
Hold on, I'm wiping a tear from my eye.
Sure.
It's just even...
Let's look a little...
What else? What is the other? Didn't he do the Croods too?
Chris Sanders? I'd have to double check that. But I know that he's done stuff for DreamWorks, right? Other stuff for DreamWorks.
Well, I thought he, because him and Dean, I forget his last name, but the other director went on to make the sequels.
You're talking about Dean DeBlois, right?
I believe so. Yeah. I think he went on to continue the How to Train Your Dragon movies, and then Chris Sanders did the Croods. And then this film, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in any case, there's really no way of getting around just how awkward it is in the beginning to see the CG dog pretending to be real, because you don't fully buy the illusion at first. And I don't mean that to take away from the animators or the performance, which is from the guy that did what's his name from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the villainous character.
Kuba?
Yeah, Copa. Yeah.
Something like that?
Cookie
and he also
Rocket?
was in...
No, not before Cookie Rocket.
Yeah.
Though
but why Cookie Rocket?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a question I ask myself every day.
every day when you wake up.
Rocket's better question.
What was that, Cory?
Why not Cookie Rocket?
That's that kind of goes to the core of the explanation that the movie gives, but
because the script demanded Cookie Rocket.
Yeah, how come one of these debates they don't bring that up? Like
Bernie Sanders, why Cookie Rocket?
Sanders. I ask you, why Cookie Rocket?
Well, why is Pete Buttigieg dropping out of the race?
Cookie Rocket.
Well, Cookie Rocket did not. But sorry, you were talking about the new Disney Fox Searchlight or 20th Century Films, The Call of the Wild. You were talking about it, yeah, at some point.
Perhaps.
It came out on February 21st, 2020.
Yeah,
I mean, $79 million worldwide. Received mixed reviews. You were talking about it.
Yeah, eventually I was talking about that. Yeah, no, I mean, there's no really getting around how awkward the central character is at first, but once you get used to the illusion of it, because I do think the movie does, like, I think it's to credit to Chris Sanders that the like world building and the general good-hearted tone of the film really works better than I was anticipating. And just a sense of like giving this story that's been told a million times before a sense of fresh urgency and a really just keen eye for different like action intensive scenes that I thought really worked well and more than I was anticipating. But I think what really ultimately won me over to the film was when Harrison Ford came in, and he doesn't really come in until about, I want to say at least 30 minutes into the film.
That's
I mean, he's
surprising.
like,
wow.
Well, actually, it's not true. Because he comes up before that briefly, and he's like the narrator, but he really doesn't play a part in the film until about the 30-minute mark. But you know, I mean, as much as a curmudgeon as he can be in real life, and much he can be like, you know, a stickler for not really playing to Disney's rules with like Star Wars or anything that pertains to you know. I guess he does kind of play ball with Indiana Jones, but I know that his reputation precedes him for many different things. But I do think when he puts his heart into a performance, he really does have this movie star charisma that I think is kind of going away in some respects. And I do think with this performance, you know, him interacting with the CG dog and knowing that it's kind of make or break. Like if you don't buy his illusion, this whole film crumbles apart. But he does give a soulful, it's sort of even wistful, bittersweet performance that took me aback, and I wasn't anticipating it to be as emotionally resonant as it was. And I think it was because of that the movie surprisingly won me over, and also because, as you mentioned, Dan Stevens is in the film, and he gives like an old school, like maniacal evil performance, like the type of mustache twirling performance where I thought like at any minute it was going to have like him tying the dog to like a railway, and like Harrison Ford had to like save Buck or something. Like that's like how comically evil he can get at times. I think it's just this weird willingness of everyone to fully buy into this concept and play ball with the CG dog, and just play up to the movie's sincere appreciation for this text and for this classic story that I can't say it's a great film, and it's not really one I've thought about much, and I don't think I have too many other nice things to say about it. But as it was, I thought it was fine. You know, I mean, I guess maybe it was just because my expectations were low, but I would say more than not, I thought it was a decent film, and for that, I'll give it a low B-.
It's a B- for The Call of the Wild. And Will, I have to say, I don't really care about this movie at all. And I don't really want to talk about it. Like, I have nothing interesting. So here's what I want to do instead. Because unfortunately, Cory Woodruff did not come into this episode until late in the episode. He totally missed our Invisible Man review. But what we could do is we could end this episode. We could end this episode with a little bit of fun. A little bit of a game. Let's do that. Let's talk about Harrison Ford.
Sure.
So let's do a little bit of a trivia round between Will Ashton and Cory Woodruff. Cory,
should I try to bring up my Harrison Ford impression?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can get it.
Generally speaking,
sometimes I can do it and sometimes I can't.
Okay.
I might have to listen a little bit of Harrison Ford. So keep talking.
So I'm gonna ask a question, and if one of you wants to answer the question, you have to do the buzzer. You know, make the buzz sound. Okay, makes sense. Everyone got it? Okay. Here's a question. Harrison Ford, what American city was he born in? Cory?
Los Angeles.
No. Will Ashton.
Nebraska.
Not even close. Chicago, Illinois. You guys are not good at this.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Harrison Ford. He's from Chicago. All right. Here's an easier question. How old is Harrison Ford? Will Ashton.
65.
Nope. Cory Woodruff.
Like 70, 78?
Cory Woodruff is closest. He is 77. He turned 78 in July.
Oh, wow.
Well done, Cory Woodruff. All right, so far, Cory has 1. Will Ashton has -1. All right.
Sure.
What popular 90s TV show actress is Harrison Ford married to?
Oh, what's her name?
Callista Flockhart?
Yeah, that's it.
Cory Woodruff gets it. Ally McBeal herself, who, of course, popularized relationship with Robert Downey Jr.'s character in that show. So a little bit of Disney Marvel connection. Okay, here we go. Last question. This is for all the marbles, but really Cory won because Will can't catch up. But who knows? How many children does Harrison Ford have? Will Ash.
3.
Cory Woodruff.
2.
Will Ashton was the closest. Harrison Ford has 5 children, and I know he's been married 3 times, and his child with Callista Flockhart technically is adopted. They adopted their child early on in their relationship. And that was Harrison Ford trivia. I hope the listeners got a lot out of that. There's a lot of fun little Harrison Ford facts. Yeah,
I didn't get to do my Harrison Ford impression yet. I'm still trying to get the voice right.
You should have answered one of the questions. And hey, Harrison Ford is on the podcast, everyone. Harrison has come on. Surprise. We Skyped him in.
Hi, John.
You sound like Dennis Quaid, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that's why I fall back in the Quaid. But
it's a slippery slope.
Let's see. Yeah,
really loved you in Merry Happy Whatever, the new Netflix show about Christmas.
Well, thank you.
Is it true? All of it? The Force?
It's true. All of it. Chewy.
Is that? Are you trying to do things to treat? Is this, by the way, Harrison Ford, is this how the Force works?
No, I'm not getting it. I'll
you sound like Harrison Ford's asleep.
Yeah, that's what I try to go for is Harrison Ford in deep slumber.
Just tired.
Is what's it? Carbon frozen? What sounds he'd make while he's
yeah.